All right, so Trump, obviously, as you saw, was back in court today. This time, he took the witness stand, though, which I think is really important to this whole thing. Now, the activist running this trial that John Glasgow was talking about, he calls himself a judge, but I think he's just some partisan kook. Now, Judge Engoron told Trump's attorney, as you just heard, to sit down and to get their client under control, to answer questions and not give speeches. And here's why that's important. He's basically saying, we're going to ask you a bunch of really pointed questions with no context, and we want you to not have the chance to refute them. This judge doesn't want any context because it exonerates Trump. He actually said, we are not here to listen to what you have to say. You are supposed to answer. No doubt, a lot of the questions were the typical gotcha questions. The ones with like no right answer, like, did you stop beating your wife this week? Those type of stupid questions. I don't even know why there is this trial. I think we should can this judge just convict him so we can move on to the appeals and win that, please? It's a waste of everyone's time. Now, my non-legal opinion here is having the gravity of a former and probably future president on trial. I think this should yield like a bit higher of a judge than some Willy Wonka wannabe in a New York City courtroom. This is just my opinion. But the gag orders, they're a perfect example of how crazy this whole thing is. Again, they are prosecuting him for a crime in which the would-be victims have testified that they're not harmed. And Letitia James, she doesn't have to be there, by the way, but loves to make this her star moment every time she just rushes out to the microphones right after the trial. They know they have no case on any of these charges. Why do you think this judge is taking away his legal ability to speak out outside the courtroom? This is what our court system is for. You can't file bar complaints against attorneys or whatever else they can come up with to shut them down, to try to get them to not represent their client. These liberals, Letitia James, this judge, they think their side is so star-spangled virtuous that they can violate every norm, every legal standard, every modicum of decency because the ends somehow justify the means. It's garbage. They are terrified of Trump winning a second term, which is all that these prosecutions are trying to do. And they're helping, ironically enough. We saw he's ahead in all but one of the swing states. This was the cover of the Washington Post yesterday. Quote, Donald Trump and his allies have begun mapping out specific plans for using the federal government to punish critics and opponents should he win a second term. Oh, weird. Like the left has done against Trump for the last 8 years? You know what? Cleared hot, buddy. Donald Trump, go get him as far as I'm concerned. I want you to do exactly what they did to you. Burn the system down. I'm here for it. I'm going to roast marshmallows over the ashes. What we're seeing now with these Hamas protests is the next BLM, and they're using it to move the narrative down the line against Trump. Only worse because they're justice of these Hamas terrorist groups, not a bunch of noise with some grifters buying mansions at the top of the pyramid. These people, who the Democratic Party is empowering, by the way, they want death for people who don't share their way of life. And if you think you're going to have the Gays for Palestine thing, that's not going to buy you any virtue. These purple-haired gender studies majors are like clapping along with banners like I just told you about, thinking that they're somehow going to be spared from any fate should Hamas rise up here in America. Hezbollah just declared war on America, too. These historically illiterate wokies, they break everything down into oppressed and oppressor. And they get to decide who is who based on whether or not they agree with them for whatever the issue or outrage of the day is. They want to tear everything down, yet they refuse to build anything. I don't think they can build anything. It's like a perpetual manufactured outrage because they have it so good, they don't even know what real actual problems are. They've never missed a meal. I say to these people, like, you don't like it? There's the door. You think Palestine is so great? Iran, China? These people are chanting death to America. Go over there. See how that works out. There's the door. Don't stay here. We don't want you anyway. I'm sick and tired of it. Pack up your hemp bag with all the vegetables you need for your journey, get on your eco-friendly yacht with solar panels and Greta Thunberg, and leave. This is not what I fought for. This is not what my friends came home in bags for, so some 19-year-old Ivy League freshman can scream in some cop's face about a system that has given them every single opportunity to be a fool. And man, they have seized it. These people will scream about abuse of freedoms protected by a flag that is draped over heroes' coffins with no remorse. The same flag that these radical lunatics will burn in the street while claiming hate crimes about their pronouns on college campuses. I am sick and tired of it. And most of America is, quite frankly, too. Actually, everybody I talk to. I love this country too damn much to let these people tear it down. I'm not alone. There's going to be a breaking point. And I say this not as an advocate for disorder, but rather as a warning for reality. Look, good order and discipline, I've said before, is only maintained so long as enough people have more to lose than gain from rising up. If you take away the fabric of Americans' ability to be protected by the legal system and the rest of the system, like we're seeing now against Donald Trump, they're doing it to a former president. They can do it to anybody. If you do that, enough people will cause a really big problem. Again, not advocating for it, it's just a reality. Look, case in point, however misguided and stupid the BLM protests were, it was a bunch of people convinced that a system didn't work for them. So they burnt down $2 billion of our cities, and that was just a few thousand people. Imagine when half of America feels that way. We're getting there really fast on both sides. Look, no one wants that, but it's going to happen if we don't change course. It's just the reality of history. You're pushing people to a breaking point, and they're going to fight back. That's literally how America was founded, by the way. 2.5% tax hike in a breakfast beverage. Now look at us. But Biden, the guy who promised to the uniter-in-chief, the adults are back in charge, or whatever other stupid things he said, he can't even make his own party happy. Trump at least only had the freaks and terrorists mad at him. But now Biden has people who make up his voter base, by the way, nearly breaking through the White House gates. They're spray painting slogans out in front of the White House in favor of terrorists on statues. And only one person was arrested for that over the weekend. Only one. But grandma walking into the Capitol gets the FBI to do a no-knock warrant and kick in her door. Look, if these animals this weekend are protesting like this with a Democrat in charge, could you imagine how they're going to react when Donald Trump, the man who moved the embassy to Jerusalem, gets back in that White House? I mean, look, would he have to activate the military, as the Washington Post seems so concerned about? I don't know. We have a year to go before we can restore this country and before we can restore order. I'm worried. This rapid destruction of our country is intensifying.